welcome to our open book. Why do people become journalists? I don't know. What do you think? Fame and riches?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
I think I'm going to read this section from a memoir written by the great French journalist Dominique Lapierre, who would become best known for writing Freedom at Midnight with his partner Larry Collins about Gandhi's movement and the Indian Revolution, and Is Paris Burning about last days of Nazi occupation of Paris. Just wonderful journalists that the two of them did. And by the way, always donated half of his royalties after he spent so much time in India to charities with the Missionaries of Charity and others in India. I had the occasion of interviewing him once and meeting him and really liked him. So he was 13 years old as Free French armies were advancing on Paris. The Allies were advancing on Paris. And there was great worry in Paris about what the Germans would do to stay. Would they blow up the city? He was 13 years old. So listen to this account. And I think I know partially what set off the instinct to become a journalist. He talks about the alarming rumors that were sweeping town. Massive German reinforcements were about to arrive in Paris. Other rumors announced the imminent insurgence of the Paris resistance. It was also alleged that the Germans were preparing to blow up the water, gas, and electric utilities. Already the gas supply was no longer functioning. My mother had to cook tapioca or pasta from our meager food stores on a small portable stove that I fueled. Imagine this, with pages from my school notebook.
How wonderful.
Screwed up into balls. We were granted electricity for 1 or 2 hours a day at times that could never quite be predicted. I would rush then to the knobs of our radio set to track the magic voice of the English BBC through the thick German jamming. In anticipation of losing our water supply completely, my mother filled the bathroom tub to the brim. One morning, I bore witness to the arrival of the first of the dreaded German reinforcements. Unlike the retreating columns, this unit of brand new armored cars and guns arrived from the east. The Place Saint-Philippe de Roule, that sound all right? The Place Saint-Philippe de Roule was deserted. When the leading vehicle emerged into it, occupied by an officer in the black epaulets of the Waffen-SS. The German was obviously trying to find his way. He called out to me, "Boy, boy," he cried. My German, darling, is even worse than my French. "Wo ist Bruchdan von Neuilly?" Neuilly?
I have no idea.
Neuilly? N-E-U.
Oh, Neuilly.
Neuilly. I made sure that I was all alone in the square. "Die Bruch von Neuilly ist dort," I replied unhesitatingly with the tiny bit of schoolboy German I knew and pointed in the direction of the Saint-Honor Boulevard. It was in the opposite direction. "Dankeschön," shouted the officer before signaling his column to follow. I made off as fast as my legs could carry me, terrified of what I had done. He sent the German tank in the wrong direction, God bless him. One fine morning, machine gun fire and cannon fire rent the summer sky. The uprising of the Paris resistance had begun. From our fifth-floor balcony, I watched the confronting hail of bullets like fireworks for the Bastille Day celebration. On the third day, we noticed a thick column of smoke hanging darkly in the sky. The Grand Palais on the Champs-Élysées was on fire. That summer, the huge building was harboring the last of Europe's great circuses, still in existence after 5 years of war. The circus belonging to the Swede Jan Hok. In a city that was starving, this part is rough. His animal cages were full of lions, tigers, and panthers, his stables full of horses and elephants. The tragic situation was to provide the Parisians with an act that the circus owner could never have dreamed of printing on his program. Crazed with fear by the gunfire, Horses broke loose and were galloping about the burning monument. One of them managed to escape into the Champs-Élysées. Hit by a stray bullet, however, the beast keeled over and rolled in the dust. It was the evening of Thursday, the 24th of August. The electricity had suddenly been restored. I had hurled myself at our radio set. Along with hundreds of thousands of the city's inhabitants, I heard a voice cry, "Parisians, Parisians, keep listening. The tanks of the first liberators have just arrived. You are about to hear a French soldier, the first soldier to enter Paris." A fantastic evening, the most marvelous of my childhood, was beginning. "Parisians, we have been liberated," cried the voice on the radio. "Spread the word. There must be rejoicing everywhere." From up in the tank turret, a reporter, his voice breaking with emotion, quoted Victor Hugo. "Rouse yourselves," he proclaimed. "Put shame behind you. Become the great country of France again. Become the great Paris." I rushed out onto the balcony of our apartment. People were pulling back their curtains, opening their shutters, falling into each other's arms, running out onto the street. On the balconies and doorsteps and at the windows, the inhabitants of the Rue Jean Mermoz, which had for 4 years been our village, was singing La Marseillaise enfant along with the radio. All over Paris, similar scenes were taking place. Back on the air, the announcer asked all parish priests to ring their church bells. Throughout the occupation, by order of the Germans, the bells had remained silent. I didn't know that, did you? Now they were coming back to life. Within minutes, the sky was resonant with the ringing of hundreds of bells. I tried to make out the bells of our parish of Saint-Philippe-de-Roule in the din, but no sound seemed to come from our church. I rushed to the telephone to call the parish priest, but his line was continuously busy. Remember, he was 13 years old. "My dear brothers and sisters," our priest declared when it climbed into the pulpit on the following Sunday, "thanks to all those who tried telephoning me on Thursday evening to ask me to ring the bells in honor of our liberation. Unfortunately, our parish has neither bell tower, nor bells." With a sly grin, he was quick to suggest that the collection for the first Sunday of freedom should go toward providing the church of Saint-Philippe-de-Roule with bells. The battle between von Cholitz's soldiers and the liberators raged on throughout the morning of August 25. Paris paid a high price for its liberty. From the pillboxes built on my playgrounds came bursts of automatic gunfire. The sound of cannon fire could be heard from the direction of the Arc de Triomphe of the Place de Troyes and the Place de la Concorde. I waited desperately for a lull because I had promised myself that I would be the first in my family to embrace an American soldier. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, desperately impatient, I escaped my parents' vigilance and ran toward the Champs-Élysées. I sneaked under the chestnut trees, past the Le Doyen restaurant in the Marigny, M-A-R-G-N-Y, theater. I knew every bush, every clump of flowers, every tree. There in front of the Guignol, the children's puppet theater, almost 4 years earlier, November 11, 1940, the anniversary of the armistice of World War I. I had seen a German officer kill a student, shouting, "Long live de Gaulle." I was 9 years old. Suddenly I heard the rumble of caterpillars. Capital C, he means the tanks. A tank was coming from the Invalides Bridge.
Invalide. On the Invalide.
From the Invalides Bridge, its hatchways closed and its cannon pointing straight ahead. I hid myself behind a tree. It could have been a German Panzer. The tank turned left, came to a halt in front of the main entrance of the Grand Palais. I stared. A splendid white star adorned its armor plating. It was an American tank. From the gun turret emerged a fair-haired giant. He was bareheaded, and his overalls were spattered with oil and dust. He was my first liberator. I shot toward the magical vision. I wanted to shout my joy at this American, to thank him, to hug him, but I spoke no English. Like many Parisian school children, I had to study German during the occupation. Too bad. I ran just the same, risking being hit by a stray bullet. It was too good an opportunity. When I reached the American tank, wonder of all wonders, I suddenly remembered that I did know at least 2 words in the language of Shakespeare. They were a reflection of the times in which we lived. I eyed the GI, then shouted at him with all of my might. What do you think? 2 words here.
No.
Corned beef. For a second, his unshaven face registered his stupefaction, immediately followed by a resounding roar of laughter. He made a sign to me to stay where I was, and I saw him climb up his armored vehicle, step over the gun turret, and disappear inside. 10 seconds later, he reappeared brandishing an enormous tin. Corned beef for you, he cried, jumping from the tank to deposit the tin in my arms. He nearly knocked me senseless with a hearty pat on my shoulder. Very good, he insisted, rubbing his stomach. Yum, yum for you. His French was about as good as mine, right? At this point, a volley of bullets fired from the Grand Palais whistled past our ears. With one bound, the American jumped into his tank to grab his machine gun. I called out several mercis to him and made off as fast as my legs would carry me. My parents' reaction was quite the opposite of what I had imagined. In vain, I gave them a detailed account of my memorable encounter with our liberator. My father suspiciously examined the tin that I had brought back. He propelled me hurriedly into the bathroom, pointing at the tub full of water. Throw your tin in there, he ordered me. It could be an explosive device. My poor father had his reasons. Strange things had happened in Paris in those days of madness. After 2 hours of this enforced bath, my tin of corned beef had not shown the slightest inclination to explode in our faces. My father therefore undertook to open it with all of the precautions worthy of an artificer dismantling a 75 millimeter shell. The result exceeded all expectation. After 4 years of deprivation, I rediscovered with ecstasy a long-forgotten indisposition, indigestion. Next day, Saturday, August 26th, my young Parisian eyes glimpsed the most wonderful sight they would ever see. The triumphal parade of the liberation forces along the Champs-Élysées. At their head and marching on foot, the tall, proud figure of Charles de Gaulle, the man whose voice we had listened to for 4 years without ever seeing his face. Led by my parents, my hand firmly hooked in my sister's, I picked my way through the throng as far as the Place de la Concorde. A shot rang out the moment de Gaulle and his retinue entered the square. The fusillade immediately broke out on all sides. Terrified, thousands of people packed into the square, lay down on top of each other. My mother pushed me and my sister under an armored car. That was when a voice in the crowd shouted, "It's the fifth column." Unfamiliar with the meaning of the expression, which referred to undercover German infiltrators, the gunner of a Sherman tank took the idiomatic expression literally, trained his cannon at the fifth column of the Hotel Crillon building, and fired.
Oh my goodness.
The column collapsed in a cloud of dust. General de Gaulle took his place in an open car, heedless of the bullets whizzing past From all directions, he waved his long arms tirelessly at the crowd. My mother and thousands of other Parisians wept for joy. Watching the hero who had given us back our freedom and honor, I was overcome with pride. And suddenly, I was no longer a child.
Wow.
Isn't that a section?
Yes, it is a section. We have a question from Bill Eckert. Have you watched the French film Diplomacy about the arrangement to save Paris from destruction on Hitler's orders?
No. Dominique Lapierre and Larry Collins wrote about that in his Paris Burning. Is it good?
It's very good.
Yeah, you've seen it? Yeah.
I watched it in graduate school. I'm like looking it up to make sure I'm not hallucinating. Yeah.
Well, we could always use a good recommendation. After all, we've seen 3/4 of Conclave twice.
You might like this one.
I think I will. And then let's see, what else? That's the only question, I think.
Okay.
I thought I liked the corned beef reference. I was prepared. Those are not the two words I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But I thought he was going to get a chocolate bar.
That's what they were famous for,
For
distributing
chocolate
chocolate and
bars.
oranges.
Yeah, I
Yes.
had not heard of the corned beef, but that is a nice.
Yes.
That's nice,
thing.
yeah. Chocolate bar.
Maybe
he meant
corned
it.
beef was only for those who yelled
From
corned
Chicago.
beef.
Corned
yeah,
beef,
maybe,
yeah.
maybe you had to ask for it. Mike.
One for Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, it must be from Chicago, right?
I think so, yeah. So thanks very much for being with us tonight in our open book. That's quite a section. I'm
It
going to read
is,
from
yes.
Dominique Lapierre again, because what a career, what a life. He and Larry Collins did some great books together, and just a great partnership, and a great journalist all over the world. So I think, read that section. Can you tell why the kid became a journalist?
Yes.
Yeah. So thanks very much for being with us tonight. On our open
Don't
book.
move it, just hold it.
Oh.
Yeah. Much better.
Thanks very much. See you later.